And the next question, God help us, what is my definition of poetry? I myself do not read poetry for anything but pleasure. I read only the poems I like. What does it matter what poetry is, after all? If you want a definition of poetry, say poetry is what makes me laugh or cry or yawn, what makes my toenails twinkle, what makes me want to do this or that or nothing, and let it go at that. All that matters about poetry is the enjoyment of it, however tragic it may be. All that matters is the eternal movement behind it, the vast undercurrent of human grief, folly, pretension, exaltation, or ignorance, however unlofty the intention of the poem. The joy and function of poetry is and was the celebration of man, which is also the celebration of God.
You are listening to Two Friends, Two Poems, the podcast where friends read poems to each other just to see what happens. In today's episode, we'll hear work by Dylan Thomas and Naomi Shihab, as well as Tom and Paul's noble attempts at their own poems. All right, here we go.
I thought of something this morning as I was watching some birds out in my tree, and how the way, as soon as you ever have a camera, you start looking at everything. It's like, oh, I'd like a picture of that. I'd like a picture of that. And a camera changes how you see. And I think too, like having this commitment to regularly writing also changes how I see. I mean, what do you're a writer and a photographer. Like, what's your experience with that?
That's one, I mean, you summed it up. I mean, it's a perfect way to put it. It changes the way you see. It reminds me also, I tried painting kind of in earnest for the first time 2 or 3 years ago. And I remember, wow, I love that you said that. I remember that distinct feeling like, oh, I haven't looked at the sky at this time of day until now, is what, which isn't true. Of course I have. I've seen the sky, but I hadn't looked at it.
Yeah.
And it was simply because I had tried to paint a sky. Since I've been writing poetry, it's changed my radar. It's changed how I'm looking at things and looking and hearing things. I feel so much more aware now that I know I have to write a poem every week.
Yeah, me too.
It's like, but it's I love, one of my favorite books on writing that I've read is Stephen King's. And the metaphor he uses, he says, like, these stories, the premise is these stories already exist and you're just unearthing them. And you don't unearth something with a jackhammer, you do it with a toothbrush. You do it with a little toothbrush and a comb. So it has slowed my brain down.
Oh, I love that.
So yeah, I brought Dylan Thomas. Who did you bring today?
Well, I brought Naomi Shihab. She's all over the place. I would encourage everyone, just search her on the internet. There's, in fact, this particular poem I saw, you can hear Emma Thompson reading it if you want to hear.
Wow.
An actor reading it. I would encourage people to listen to that too. And you can hear Naomi Shihab read it as well. She's been doing a lot of online work lately and work with news organizations, just getting to read her poetry.
Fantastic.
And this was recommended to me actually by I've got a friend who is an English teacher in a public high school here in Colorado, and I gave him, probably the best text an English teacher would want to hear is what's a poem I should read.
Yeah, right.
I was like, oh, thank you.
Finally. Someone's asking.
What's the name of the Dylan Thomas one?
My father, before he passed away, created a kind of solo theater piece using Dylan Thomas's writing. So there's something kind of mystical and cool happening that I'm writing poetry, I'm reading poetry, and now I've found my way to this notebook that I've been carrying around with me for, since 2006. And I opened it for the first time.
Oh,
And so I'll be reflecting on why I needed that time. A refusal to mourn the death by fire of a child in London by Dylan Thomas. Never until the mankind making, bird, beast, and flower, fathering, and all humbling darkness tells with silence the last light breaking, and the still hour is come of the sea tumbling in harness. And I must enter again the round Zion of the water bead, and the synagogue of the ear of corn. Shall I let pray the shadow of a sound, or sow my salt seed in the least valley of sackcloth, to mourn the majesty and burning of the child's death? I shall not murder the mankind of her going with a grave truth, nor blaspheme down the stations of the breath with any further elegy of innocence and youth. Deep with the first dead lies London's daughter, robed in the long friends, the grains beyond age, the dark veins of her mother, secret by the unmourning water of the riding Thames. After the first death, there is no other.
I'm all screwed up now.
Now you're all verklempt.
It's too like there is value to me in thinking about what was going on causing him to write that.
World War II, yeah?
Yeah, and then that it's also timeless.
You can write a poem, or you can read a book, or you can be a farmer, or a builder, or a cook.
This is Naomi Shihab poem, Kindness. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go. So that you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. And you must see how this could be you. How he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to gaze at bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, it's you. It's only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, it is I you have been looking for. And then goes with you everywhere, like a shadow or a friend. Ooh,
Good Lord.
the two together. Oh my God.
Yeah, what a gosh.
That we don't like even talk about what we're bringing to the table. And we had those two together.
Wow. We're going to read our own work now.
Here's our own work.
Okay. I'll go. I'll
Okay.
go. Is that cool?
Yeah, do it.
So and this poem also, I'm not sure. I kind of wrote this one without imagining it out loud. So this is an experiment. I'm not sure how this works out loud. Acting for humans. It's not about the ice, the teacher said that time in the lesson on subtext. Microparticles invade and embed, feeding on hosts, not just in the head. A double agent took it down, enrolled spy, seeking lessons in how to survive, but also the guts, the bones, and the blood, eggs of uncracked codes to ever infer. On stage, sure, but everywhere, amongst everyone, and now they know how to trust any when you can't even tell if the things that you say are intended reveals. Can I have some ice is not about the ice, if on stage or screen or page, or life, jokes the teacher, using his hand in that I'm telling you a grown-up secret gesture. We open our mouths to give or to get, to change, manipulate, or bypass regret. Life is a series of objectives and obstacles for the story to matter to the audience. The gods, jokes the teacher, the pupils laugh again. The objective must be encompassing enough to overcome every obstacle, human or otherwise. Words are just tactics employed by the speaker to further their story at the cost of all others. Jesus, that must be some good ice. The spy dutifully jokes, experimenting with subtext. So change how you listen and change how you love. Always be searching for subtext to prove. It's not about the ice, the teacher says again, but different.
Love it. Love it. Jesus, that must be some good eyes.
Yeah. As a true story, an acting teacher earned that into my brain. It's not about the ice. And now I'm like, motherfucker, sometimes it's about the ice.
It can be. Yeah.
Why can't it be?
Right.
All right.
Memory is gravity. Gravity is memory. It collects and compresses and creates a story that explains it, holds it tight, keeps it contained, condenses and presses every thought and feeling, pushes in every bit of dust and gas, compresses every burn zone into diamonds. The story can't hold everything so tight. The laws of repulsion and suspension of disbelief require energy. I can only grasp so hard. It's me v time. This pending explosion, this expansive forgetting, this decomposition, this mandatory amnesia. Let us remember. Let us forget. Never forget. Never remember.
Never
We're still
forget.
recording.
Never remember. Beautiful, man. Cool. Yeah, we're still recording. This has been another episode of Two Friends, Two Poems with your hosts Tom Ward and Paul Natale. Today we heard poetry from Naomi, Shihab, Dylan Thomas, as well as your humble hosts. If you like the show, please like and subscribe. You can read more of Tom's work by following him on Medium at tomwardwrites.medium.com. Thanks for listening. Go write a poem.